In this build, I create a mobile cart for my table saw, which includes the valuable feature of dust collection. So you see I've cut 4 of each of these sizes. 2 are for my upper support and 2 are for my lower support. That's my elbow, and it's a beautiful elbow, I know. Jealous, aren't you? Anyway, I'm going to make one of these the lower, one of these the upper, and here we go. All right, so I drilled some holes for these and then just drove them in with an impact driver using 3-inch construction screws, and that should hold. I'm measuring the wheels because I want the total height of the cart to be just about the same as the workbench. That way I can use the workbench for in-feet support, out-feet support, even moral support if needed. The wheels have brakes on them, which will make it easy to prevent the cart from moving when I don't want it to be. They've got 4 holes for screws. I'm only going to use 3 of them. The obligatory stand on the stand. Let's see if all right, I didn't die. Good. All right, it is coming along pretty well, except that I've got a problem that I did not consider early enough. So here, on each of these, I've put screws through here. So now I need to attach this vertical support to this and to there, but I've got screws going through here. I don't want to put screws through there because they'll hit the existing screws. So I'm thinking I'm going to come in at an angle and get through that board, and maybe through an angle over here and get through there. So we'll see how well that can work on each of these. All right, that seems to have worked. So I've got angled screws embedded kind of deep in, since they're only 3-inch screws, and I've got 2.5 inches of width here. So I tried to dig them in a little more, and especially since they're towed in, so they're at an angle, so they aren't reaching quite as far. But I think that's pretty secure. So I'm going to flip everything up, flip everything over, and try to do the same thing on this. I might have to take the wheels off in order to get access though, so that's what I'm up to next. All right, so I got that to work too. I just unscrewed 2 of each of the screws on the wheels and loosened the 3rd, the middle screw, and swung them out of the way, drilled in the new screws, and now I'll just reattach those wheels. All right, so I'm just going to cut out the notches in that plywood using the bandsaw. This side looks to be in a little bit better shape. looks like I need to make those a little bit deeper. All right, let's try it now. I think that'll work. I'm just going to screw those down, secure them. All right, that's not going anywhere. It seems like it might be too tall. Let's find out. Well, it's working, but I think when I adjust the bevel that it probably won't work. So I think I need to lower that guy a little more. I've just traced the outside of the bucket, and so I actually want to go maybe 1/4 to 1/2 an inch outside of the line in order to give myself enough room for the bucket to sink down in several inches. So let me start with a drill. And a bit larger drill bit so that be sure to fit the jigsaw blade through. That should be enough. All right, not exactly round, but you know, we'll see. Yeah, cut it too wide. So it can go all the way down to the ground, which is not what I wanted. All right, so I just marked out and drilled some holes for some bolts to hold the table saw in. See if they are, hey, the bolts will go through. That's good. So, moment of truth. Let's see if the table saw will fit. Line it up as best we can. One, two.
The bolts that I'm using to secure the table saw are quite a bit longer than the bolts that came with the saw. In the front, that's a bit of a problem because the bevel assembly won't allow me to put the full bolt all the way through from the top. So I end up putting it in through the bottom. But the nuts that I was planning to use are these spiky ones that dig into the wood. And that is great on the 2x3, not so great on the bar. So I'm using these nuts instead that came with the bolts that came with the saw, and those ones I can secure from the top just fine.
All right, this is the circle that I cut out of the plywood that is a little bit too wide. And so took it to the bandsaw. I've got a couple of pieces that I can try to glue back on to the plywood to tighten it back up. I'm only going to do one of them first. This one's a little bit wider. So I'll start with this guy and glue him on and then check back after it's dried and see if I still need this one or if it's tight enough with just that guy. Alright, so I'll keep that clamped for at least half an hour, maybe longer. And then release it. And hopefully that will be enough. If it's not, then I've got the other piece that I can resecure over here. Alright, so it has been over half an hour since I clamped the plywood together. I've removed the clamps and inserted the bucket. You can see, well, maybe you can't see the seam with all of my shadows there. Let me come over the other side. You can see the seam right in there. It's pretty tight. And that's down about as far as it'll go. You can see it is clearing the floor, which is all I wanted. And so I've pushed that down about as far as it'll go, which I think gives the glued joint about as much clamping pressure as it's going to need for the rest of the way. So I'm going to leave it like that overnight, and it'll be awesome. And we've got our dust hopper set up in there. It is connected to the dust port with this big hose that I'm going to get a different connection, because what I really want is for something much shorter that can just come right through here and then connect down to the dust stopper there. And I've got the small shop vac down here that will connect to the dust stopper once I get the appropriate hoses, because darn it, I do not have those vacuum hoses anymore. Who knows what happened to them? But it's a smaller connection. It's not the 2 or 2.5 inch, whatever it is, for the standard vac, the shop vac like these. It's a smaller, so 1.5 maybe. I think it's a 1.5 connection. So I'll have to get some sort of adapter and to be able to hook it up to one of these guys. And then I've got power, obviously, for both the vacuum and the table saw. Those are going to go into a switch that will power both of them on, basically simultaneously. And that'll make things a lot easier moving forward. And because I've got that bucket lowered down, I can now do the bevel adjustment. Maybe I can. There we go. I can do the bevel adjustment all the way over. Oh, except for my zero clearance insert isn't very happy about that. So I can do the bevel adjustment all the way around without interfering with the bucket down below. All right, that's it for now. To come, I am going to be building some outfeed support. I'm going to be adding the switch. I'm going to be prettying things up a little bit. Well, I'm not going to pretty it up very much, I'll be honest. It's for the garage. It doesn't have to be pretty. And I know a lot of people do make things really pretty for the garage. I'm not one of those guys, as you can probably see from the surroundings. All right, that's it for now. We will see you next time. Make sure you subscribe if you want to see what we do next. Take care.